Welcome back to The Mortals, my friends, the place where we rip down the walls brick by brick, exposing the raw, chilling edges of life's most harrowing moments. Because here, nothing is off limits. Life, death, the shadowy in-between, and those stories that cling to your mind long after the lights go out. I'm Nathan Morris, your guide through tales of near death, the unexplainable, and the mysteries that refuse to be solved. But before we dive into today's darkness, I've got a little warning for you. If you're new here or haven't hit that follow button yet, beware. Because rumor has it, if you don't follow the Mortals, you're going to find yourself at a funeral, accidentally tripping over the guest book, sending it flying into the lap of the grieving widow during the eulogy. Don't be that person. Save yourself the haunting embarrassment. Just hit follow right now and join our community of shadowed souls. And don't forget, new episodes drop every Tuesday and Thursday. So set a reminder to keep up with the chills. Tie a string around your finger, whatever works. Today, we've got two stories that'll make your skin crawl. Two real, lesser-known accounts of survival against impossible odds, laced with whispers of the unknown. One involves a man lost in a frozen wilderness, guided by a presence that he cannot explain. The other, a woman trapped in a nightmare of her own home, saved by something or someone beyond comprehension. Let's step into the fog of the unexplainable. Our first story takes us to the bone-chilling cold of northern Minnesota. In the brutal winter of 1977, near the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness, a vast, unforgiving maze of frozen lakes and dense forest where the wind doesn't just blow, it screams with a hunger all of its own. Civilization is a distant memory out here. If you get lost, you're on your own, swallowed by a landscape that doesn't care if you live or if you die. It's here we meet a 29-year-old man named Thomas Reed. Not his real name, but we'll call him that for this story. Thomas was a rugged outdoorsman, a logger by trade, who had spent his life wrestling with the wilderness. He thought he knew every trick that this land could throw at him, but on February the 3rd, 1977, he was about to learn just how wrong he was. It started as a routine solo trip. Thomas was checking trap lines that he'd set for fur, a gritty side gig to scrape by during the slow winter months. He packed light, snowshoes strapped to his back, a rifle slung over his shoulder, a handful of jerky, and a thermos of black coffee steaming in the frigid air. He expected to be back at his cabin by dusk, no sweat. The sky was a heavy gray when he set out at dawn, the temperature clawing at -10 degrees Fahrenheit, with a wind chill that sliced through his layers like a blade, nipping at any exposed skin with cruelty, with cruel bites. His boots crunched through deep, It started as a routine solo trip. Thomas was checking trap lines he'd set for fur, a gritty side gig to scrape by during the slow winter months. He packed light, snowshoes strapped to his back, a rifle slung over his shoulder, a handful of jerky, and a thermos of black coffee steaming in the frigid air. He expected to be back at his cabin by dusk, no sweat. The sky was this heavy gray when he set out at dawn, the temperature clawing at -10 degrees Fahrenheit, with a wind chill that sliced through his layers like a blade, nipping at any exposed skin. His boots crunched through knee-deep snow, each step echoing in the eerie silence of the woods, broken only by the occasional groan of a pine bending under the weight of ice. He moved with purpose, his breath fogging in front of him, but as the morning dragged into afternoon, the air grew thicker, the clouds lower, darker, like a predator closing in. A blizzard was brewing, and Thomas could feel it in his bones. The way the wind picked up, whispering threats through the trees, the way the first stray flakes stung his face like tiny shards of glass. Still, he pressed on. His stubbornness was outweighing the warning in his gut. He thought he could outrun the storm, beat it back to safety. That was his first mistake, and it nearly became his last. By mid-afternoon, the blizzard struck with a vengeance. Winds roared at 40 miles per hour, whipping snow into a blinding, suffocating whiteout. Visibility dropped to nothing. Thomas couldn't see his own hand in front of his face, let alone a landmark. He tried to backtrack, squinting into the void, but every direction was a wall of white, an endless, disorienting abyss. His tracks were gone, buried in seconds by these relentless drifts, and panic clawed at his chest, a cold deeper than the wind seeping into his core. He was lost, miles from shelter, with night falling fast like a guillotine, in the boundary waters. Night in a blizzard isn't just dangerous, it's a death warrant. Hypothermia can kill you in hours, turning your body into a frozen statue, and no one would find you until spring, if even find you. And the stage was set for a desperate night for survival. And something beyond understanding was about to step into this storm. Let's sink into the raw terror of Thomas Reed's situation. He's alone in the boundary waters, trapped in a ferocious blizzard, with temperatures now plummeting to -20. His fingers are numb, stiff as wood, his face raw and burning from the wind's merciless lash. His body is betraying him, each step through the snow heavier, slower, like wading through wet cement. He knows if he stops moving, he's finished. Hypothermia will creep in, whispering sweet lies of warmth as it drags him into a sleep he won't ever wake from. Every pine tree is a ghostly silhouette. Every gust of wind a howl that sounds like his name being called by the void. He's been staggering for hours, and dusk has bled into pitch black night. His flashlight battery flickers, the weak beam swallowed by the swirling snow, barely illuminating the next foot of ground. He's got maybe an hour left before his body gives out completely, before the cold claims him for good. Then, in the suffocating dark, something pierces the chaos. Not the wind's scream, not a branch snapping under snow, but a sound that shouldn't be there. A voice. A low, steady whisper, almost buried by the storm's roar, but unmistakable. It murmurs, "Keep going. Turn left." Thomas stops dead, not from exhaustion, but from a jolt of pure shock. His breath catches, ice forming on his lips as he whips his head around, shining his dying light into the endless white. There's nothing. No one. No rescue team, no other soul for miles in this frozen hell. His heart slams against his ribs. Has he lost it? Is his mind cracking under the strain, conjuring phantoms as death closes in? He stands there, snow pelting his face like needles, waiting, listening, half expecting silence to prove that he's mad. But the voice comes again, clearer now, cutting through the gale like a lifeline. Left. Now. Shelter's close. It's calm, almost tender, like a father guiding a lost child through a nightmare. Thomas's mind reels. Part of him screams it's a trick, a delusion, but another part, the part that's clinging to any shred of hope, urges him to obey. His legs tremble as he veers left, trudging into a drift deeper than before, driven by this phantom command. Each step a gamble with his fading strength. Minutes stretch into what feels like eternity. His legs are lead, his vision is blurring, snow's caking around his eyelashes until he's half blind. The cold is a living thing now, gnawing at his core, whispering for him to lie down, to rest just for a moment. But the voice, it doesn't stop. Almost there. Don't stop. It's relentless, a beacon in the dark, pulling him forward when his body begs to quit. And then, through the haze, Thomas glimpses something, a dark shape against the white, looming like a mirage. He blinks. Snow stings the eyes. He's convinced it's another trick of his mind. But as he stumbles closer, it solidifies. An old, abandoned trapper's cabin, barely standing. The weathered logs sagging under snow, windows dark as empty eyes. Is it real? He reaches out, his frozen hand brushing the rough wood, and a sob catches in his throat. It's real. He stumbles in, collapsing against the wall, the wind's deadly howl muted by the frail shelter. The cabin is empty, no food, no heat, just dust and cobwebs. The air inside is cold as outside, but it's a barrier between him and death. And he huddles in a corner, wrapping himself in his coat, his breath shallow, his mind racing. How did he find this? Was that voice real? He shivers through the night as the storm rages outside, alive, but haunted by a question that he cannot answer. And by morning, the blizzard breaks, and Thomas, weak but breathing, finds his bearings and limps back to civilization. But here's the kicker. That cabin wasn't on any map he knew, and when he later tried to find it again with a search party, combing the area for days, it was gone. Vanished, like it never existed. Not a splinter, not a footprint, nothing. So what guided him? What spoke to him in that storm? Was it instinct, a trick of a dying mind, or something watching over him in the frozen dark? Thomas Reed's survival on February 3rd, 1977, defies every rule of nature. He walked for over 12 hours in a whiteout blizzard, in temperatures that should have turned him to ice long before he found shelter. Medically, he suffered frostbite on his fingers and on his toes, severe dehydration, and, of course, exhaustion, but somehow no permanent damage. He spent days in a hospital, his body mending, his mind haunted by that voice. I heard it as clear as I'm talking to you now, he told a local reporter years later. His voice was still trembling with the memory. It wasn't me. It wasn't in my head. Something wanted me to live. His friends and family were torn. Some chalked it up to delirium, a brain on the brink weaving lies to survive. Others believed he'd encountered a guardian. Maybe a spirit of the woods, something ancient that tied to that frozen land. Local lore in northern Minnesota whispers of helpers, unseen forces that guide lost travelers, but there's no proof. Just campfire tales passed down through generations. Thomas never went back into the boundary waters alone after that. He carried a quiet fear, a respect for something that he couldn't name. And the cabin? That phantom shelter, it became an obsession. He led search parties back to the spot, or what he thought was the spot, describing every detail. The sagging logs, the broken door hanging on one hinge, the smell of damp rot inside. But they found nothing, not even a clearing where it might have stood. Just endless snow and trees, mocking his memory. Was it ever there? Did something or someone place it in his path just long enough to save him, and then erase it from existence? We don't have the answer, but the chill of unknown lingers, as cold as that Minnesota night. Let's move to our second story, one just as gripping and even darker. Real quick, I just want to put you onto something that completely leveled up how I create. If you've ever thought about starting a podcast or even creating content that looks good and sounds next level, but you say, I don't have the equipment, Descript. And it just dropped something ridiculously wild. It's AI avatars. Say you're terrible in front of a camera, but just imagine being able to generate a video where you read the script, but you don't hit record. You write it. Descript makes it look like it's you saying it, and it looks really good. It doesn't look awkward, not robotic, it's seamless. If you pair that with what Descript already does with helping me with my podcast, editing with text-based, and if you're creating anything, a podcast or content for socials, or even you're just making videos, do not sleep on this. Go to get.descript.com/Nathan Morris to try it for free right now. That's get.descript.com/Nathan Morris. Link is also in the description. Now, back to the mortals. Let's step into the gut-wrenching terror Clara Henshaw faced that night. She pushes open the bedroom door, the faint creak of the hinges, the only sound in her quiet house. And before she can even process what's happening, a figure explodes from the shadows. It's a man, his face hidden behind a black ski mask, eyes glinting with cold intent, gloves on his hands and a knife in his grip that catches the dim light spilling from the hall like a sliver of death. Clara's scream rips from her throat, raw and desperate, but he's on her in a heartbeat, slamming her against the wall with a force that knocks the air from her lungs. The knife presses to her throat, the cold steel biting into her skin, a hair's breadth from drawing blood. "Don't move. Don't make a sound," he growls. His voice is low, gravelly, dripping with menace, and her mind is a whirlwind. Her kids aren't home, thank God, but she's alone, no neighbors close enough to hear her cry through the thick suburban silence. She's trapped in her own bedroom, this intruder's intent clear in the unblinking stare behind the mask. His breath hot and ragged against her face. Her legs shake, threatening to buckle as he forces her down to the floor. Her knees hitting the carpet with a dull thud. He yanks her wrists behind her back, binding them with duct tape from a bag that he's carrying. The sticky rip of the tape echoes like a countdown in her ears. Each movement is practiced, mechanical, like he's done this before. Like he's planned every second of her terror. Clara's heart is a jackhammer, pounding so hard she thinks it's going to burst. She's certain this is the end, that she'll never see her children again, that this room, her sanctuary, will be her grave. He starts rummaging through her drawers, muttering to himself, pulling out jewelry and cash, stuffing them into his bag, but his focus keeps snapping back to her. The knife, never far from reach, always glinting in her peripheral, like a constant threat. Minutes drag like hours, each tick of the clock on her nightstand a hammer blow to her fraying nerves. Clara's fighting to stay calm, to think, to find any way out, but fear is a vice around her chest, choking her. She's losing hope, her body trembling uncontrollably, tears mixing with the blood trickling from a gash above her eye where her head hit the wall. And that's when something impossible happens. From nowhere, a voice cuts through the suffocating silence. And it's not hers, it's not his, but a woman's voice, sharp and commanding, slicing through the air from the hallway. "Get out now!" The intruder freezes, his head whipping toward the door, the knife wavering in his grip. Clara's eyes dart there too, wide with shock, but there's no one. The hallway is empty, the house still dark beyond her bedroom light, a void of nothingness. The voice comes again, louder, angrier, reverberating with a fury that doesn't even feel human. "Leave her! I see you!" The man stumbles back, his bravado crumbling, the knife shaking in his hand as he scans the empty space, his breath hitching like he's being hunted by something that he can't see. Clara's as stunned as he is, her mind reeling. Where did that come from? She doesn't know this voice. It's not a neighbor, not anyone she recognizes, but it's real, echoing with an authority that fills the room like a physical presence. And the intruder curses under his breath, a string of panicked words, grabs his bag with jerky movements, and bolts from the door, his boots thudding down the stairs. Clara hears the front door, and it slams. Then, silence. A silence so heavy it presses against her bound form. She's still on the floor, shaking, but she's alive. She manages to crawl to her bedside, knock the phone off the hook with a trembling shoulder, and dial 911 with her nose, her breath hitching with sobs. Police, they arrive in minutes, and they find her still on the floor with her wrists bound, but no sign of an intruder. They search the house from top to bottom, and no one else is there. No footprints, no recordings, nothing to explain that voice. Clara swears she heard it, clear as day, a lifeline in her darkest moment. But who? Was it a guardian? Was it a ghost? The mystery remains, as chilling as the blade that nearly ended her life. Clara Henshaw survived that night in October of 1992 with only minor cuts and bruises, but the mental scars ran deep. She moved out of that house within a month, unable to sleep there without reliving the attack. The intruder was never caught, though police suspected he was a serial burglar active in the area, known for targeting lone women. Clara underwent therapy for PTSD, haunted not just by the man with the knife, but by that voice. "It wasn't in my head," she told a counselor. "It was outside me, protecting me. I don't know what it was, but I owe it my life." Some thought it was stress-induced hallucination. Others, including Clara, wondered if it was something supernatural, a protector tied to the house or to her, even. That house had no history of hauntings, no tragic past, yet Clara's story spread quietly among locals, a whisper of the unknown. It forces us to ask, in our darkest moments, can something beyond our understanding step in? Or does the mind weave miracles to save itself? I live for these questions, the ones that linger in the shadows of what we can't prove. Both Thomas Reed and Clara Henshaw walked away from the brink of death, guided by voices that defy explanation. Sometimes the unexplainable isn't a puzzle to solve, but a shiver to feel, a reminder that life can hang by threads we can't see. If you've ever experienced something unexplainable, a near-death moment, a mysterious intervention, a loss that haunts you, I want to hear from you. Join the Mortals community, a space for deeper conversations, exclusive behind-the-scenes content, and a chance to connect with others who feel the chill of these stories, just like you. And of course, members get early access to episodes, bonus content, and a direct line to share your own experiences. Check out the link in the description or visit nathanmorrismusic.com to join. Your story might be the one we tell next. And remember, new episodes drop every Tuesday and Thursday. Don't miss a single tale. But before we go, I want to shout out a tool that makes the show possible, and that is Descript. If you have ever wanted to start your own podcast or create content that sounds professional, Descript, that's my go-to. Has features like automatic transcription, easy audio editing, and even AI-powered voice tools. It takes the headache out of production so you can focus on the stories that matter. You should try for free right now at get.descript.com/Nathan Morris. Link in the description. Thanks for listening to The Mortals, where the walls come down, the mysteries stay unsolved, and sometimes the answers only lead to darker questions. I like it that way. Until next time, take care of yourselves. You're loved far more than you could ever know, even in the shadows.